Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I keep
You look very precarious. They're balanced on a stool with a microphone in front of you and
balanced on a stool. I'm just sitting on the stool.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, it's a little wobbly.
Well,
You got your water right there. You might knock that over.
That's coffee for sure.
I love the element of risk involved in the podcast so far.
That's a second cup of coffee at 10:41 a.m.
I have a fly buzzing around me in the studio.
Oh,
I'm hoping he gets close enough to the mic that you can actually hear him. And if not, we can put him in post.
Amazing.
It could be very annoying, but instead I'm going to use the fly as a way to help me focus even more intensely on delivering a great podcast.
I support that. Speaking of great podcasts, should we start one?
Let's roll that intro music.
Max and Dad's wholesome chaos. Max and Dad's wholesome chaos.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wholesome Chaos, the podcast where I, with my co-host, Maggie Thurman there, who's coming at you from Los Angeles. Maggie is an amazing podcast host and also an actress with a new movie coming out this summer. She's an influencer on TikTok with millions of followers. And most of all, she's my daughter. And so, hey, Maggie, how you doing today?
I'm so good. How are you?
Doing great. You ready to do this thing?
Absolutely. That other voice that you're hearing right now, well, the one who was just talking, is my dad, Dan Thurman.
That's me.
He's a motivational speaker. He's an author working on his new book. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, he's working on... Oh, yeah, we've talked about it in the podcast before. I'm like, is it a secret? He's working on his new book. He's also a unicyclist. I'm throwing different things in there. He's a juggler. He's a pickleball player sometimes. And he's a TikToker as well.
Sometimes. Thanks to you. Thanks a lot.
You might see him on your For You page.
We also have an amazing special guest in the studio, Stephanie Craig, who is a dear friend of the family. She's actually part of the family pretty much. And she's also been a part of our business for about the past 11 years. How you doing today, Stephanie?
Fantastic, Dan. Thanks.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. So,
Speaking of TikTok, have you noticed, do you have the new feature where it shows how many people have saved every video?
No, I don't really pay attention to new features, but I guess I should do that.
I do because I'll go to click on comments now and it'll accidentally save it because it's in that spot. But yeah, that was really interesting to me. And so I went through a few videos to see how many people have saved things. The video I did in front of Target,
yes.
with the Target ball, 7.5 million likes. I think it's a little over 15 million views, which ratio, crazy. That was a video where I had friends texting me. They would send me my video and go, what the heck is this ratio? And I was like, I don't know.
Well, it was such a good idea and something you talked about for a long time. So Maggie walks on a rolling globe. Mm-hmm. And if you saw this video, you know that she has a red one of these rolling globes that she walks on, which looks just like a Target ball. That's been kind of an inside joke. So her idea was to put it in front of Target and go from the actual Target balls onto the rolling globe ball and start walking. And her brother Eddie was dressed up as a Target employee that day. And his reaction was excellent. He got to use his acting chops. That was a big hit. Target even got involved in commenting on that one.
Yeah,
which was kind of fun.
That was really cool. But I felt like a little director that day too, because I'd be talking to Eddie, and mom was recording, and so literally all I was doing was directing. And so when he went over to the Target ball, first he kicked it a few times, really big and stuff, and I was like, can we try one? Maybe just go and tap it or something. And I was like, let's do one.
Really subtle.
Yeah, let's do one with a little kick. Just one little kick. And I was like, this is fun. Usually I'm the one on the other side of the camera, but this is cool. But all that to say.
Maybe that's your future. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
But all that to say, guess how many saves are on that video?
Well, if the ratio is any indication, it's probably got to be pretty high, right? I don't know, close to 1 million?
Oh, no.
That would be way too much.
Yeah, no, now I just sound lame, Dad.
100,000.
It's 131,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's so many people.
Well, love it. Love it. So speaking of weird stuff, I did some weird stuff today, this morning. I actually decided after I got up stupid early, even after I was up at midnight, I got up at like 4:30 again and started writing. I got some really important work done on my book and on my study that we're launching with the book. And that was good. And then I was like, you know what I want to do? I have to pre-stage like the garage ready for Mom's arrival. Okay. So to set the stage, we've got too many cars around. I've got my car. I have my grandpa's truck, or my father's truck, your grandpa's truck that I borrowed to go to the mountains to do some moving, you know. And then I've got the van, and Mom's going to be coming home. She's been gone for several days. And so we're missing her. So it's just me and the dogs. And so I decided, look, I want to clear out the driveway. I got stuff in the van. I want to make sure Mom can, stuff in the garage. I want to make sure Mom can park in the garage when she gets home. And so I decided to move three different cars, all three cars, to the office. And so I drove one car. I unicycled back 4 miles. And then I drove the next car and I unicycled back 4 miles. And then I drove the third car over to the office in time to make my morning call. So I was pretty proud of that.
Very, very impressive.
The dogs were confused.
Yeah, it sounds pretty hectic. You know what might have calmed you down?
Yes. Unicycling can calm me down pretty well, actually.
But
I think I know where you're going.
That was my segue. Considering your
It was a good
segue
segue.
was speaking
Roll
of
with
weird
it.
stuff.
Just keep going. You can't say it's a segue. You got to just keep going, and then
Did
it's
you
a segue.
catch that though on your original segue? I told you a story and you just go, speaking of weird stuff, what weird stuff was I talking about?
You were talking about target balls.
That's
thought that was
completely
pretty weird.
normal.
See, now we're totally back into the podcast, and the segue has left the station.
Oh my
So we got
gosh.
to re-segue.
Okay.
So Maggie, are you feeling pretty anxiety-driven, or are you kind of calm these days?
I think you could always use some more calm.
You know what? What's really fascinating is we had a client. I was talking to my client yesterday in the office. We did a Zoom presentation for them with our studio, and I'm going to be doing their event, pretty sure. Well, they're a company that really believes in the mental well-being of their employees, which is awesome. It's a great company, very mission-driven. They support education and safety in schools, and it's just an incredible company. And the CEO leads this effort to try to keep his company and employees really, really doing well, like the whole holistic approach to their well-being. Well, so much so, he has the Calm app for every one of his employees. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And so they can benefit from that. They train them on how to use it and use the meditations and use all the different functionalities and music and sleep stories of Calm, because everybody needs some.
Yeah. They should use our promo code too.
Yeah, they should.
But we'll get to that
So-
in a second.
Yeah, so if you've ever been thinking about meditation, for example, trying something new can be intimidating. And meditation may be something you've heard a lot about, but haven't yet tried for yourself. Well, Calm helps you feel more at ease from the moment that you first start. Find somewhere that's comfortable to you, like your couch or bed, and just tune in to Calm.
We're partnering with Calm, the #1 mental wellness app, to give you the tools that improve the way you feel.
Reduce stress and anxiety through the guided meditations, improve focus with curated music tracks, and rest and recharge with Calm's imaginative sleep stories for children and adults. There's even new daily movement sessions designed to relax your body and uplift your mind.
If you go to calm.com/chaos, you'll get a special offer of 40% off of a Calm premium subscription, and new content is added every week.
Over 100 million people around the world use Calm to take care of their minds.
Calm is ready to help you stress less, sleep more, and live a happier, healthier life.
For listeners of the show, Calm is offering an exclusive offer of 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/chaos.
Go to calm.com/chaos for 40% off unlimited access to Calm's entire library.
That's calm.com/chaos.
I'm feeling calmer just talking about it.
Speaking of calm, there's this fly is buzzing around me still, and I feel pretty calm about it. I'm like
Good.
groovy with it because I did my meditation this morning. I had plenty of time.
Very good.
So the way I thought about that, I was like, you know what? It's 8 miles or so of unicycle riding, which is great exercise. I could go to the gym, I could get on the exercise bike, but if I do this, then I could actually be productive. I can move cars. I could wave at people in their cars, make people smile. That happens a lot when you're on the unicycle. Is like you go by joggers and people and they're just having their normal, ordinary morning and they see you and they're like, oh, hello. And it kind of, brightens their day a little bit. That's one of the reasons I like doing it.
That's so funny.
Either that or I'm an exhibitionist.
Last night, a friend sent me like a GIF, those like things. I don't know. That's a whole big debate if it's GIF or GIF, but of a frog on a unicycle. And so I sent back the picture of me as a child on a unicycle. I love that picture. I love that. I just have 2 little pigtails. I'm on my little red unicycle.
Oh, that's a good one. So that whole episode, though, this morning, you were pretty confused, huh, Stephanie?
Absolutely. I pulled up and there was cars in the driveway, but Dan
dogs
wasn't
in the
here.
house because I brought the dogs over on the second run.
Yeah.
And I wasn't here, and I was running late for my call. And so she actually called me when I was driving the third car over. It's like, I'm going to make it. And I was there like 1 minute ahead of time.
Where are you?
Very impressive.
Thank you. So what's been going on in your life, Mags? What you been up to?
I played some mean pickleball last night. I played...
Like you were mean or you were good?
Good. I think I might be better at singles than I am at doubles.
I've never played singles. It seems like there's just so much court to cover.
Singles, that's the thing. Singles is a workout. I was sweating, I was breathing heavy, but I felt really good after because I felt like I had actually gotten a workout. Doubles, I don't break a sweat. I take like 6 steps in that game because usually like my friends that I play with, for the most part, they're guys and they're always like, don't worry, like I'll run for the shots. And so I don't move that much. And so singles, I was playing singles with a friend and I beat my first friend 11-0. And then the second friend, he beat me. And so I was like, I want a rematch. I beat him on the rematch. And then we were like, oh, we're tied. So we had a third game. Guess who won? Just take a guess.
I think it'd be you. That's what I put my money on.
It was me. It was me. And I felt very good about myself. I was a little bit in pain because of how much I had run. But no, it was... One-on-ones is so much targeting. Like, that's literally all it is one person is going to primarily have the power of just throwing the shots from side to side and the other's going to run. And you're either the one in power or you're the one chasing it. And either way, they just got to be good shots. It's fun, man. But that was my night last night. But it's been a crazy week. It's been an absolutely crazy week. You know how
tell us more because you know we all kind of live vicariously through you and your LA adventures and your hobnobbing with famous people and cool experiences.
What is hobnobbing?
It's like bumping elbows and toasting cocktails and going to fancy parties and dressing up and,
Tapping
schmoozing.
elbows? Tapping elbows was the start?
I don't know. Bumping elbows. I don't think it's tapping elbows. Being in cool company and amazing experiences.
So let's see how much I can name drop right now is what we're saying.
Well, you don't have to.
Well,
go ahead.
Here's really interesting. You know how I always talk about where I play pickleball, a lot of people in the entertainment industry play there. And so I'm waiting for the day when I walk into an audition or a callback or a producer session or like anything on set, and I see someone, and it's like, wait a second, I know you from those pickleball courts. Like we tear it up every day, and that hasn't happened yet. But one of my friends, Grant Kanoki, he was in the finals for America's Song Contest. It's like America's Eurovision. And it's the first year they're doing it. Kelly Clarkson and Snoop Dogg are hosting. And so he's so talented. He's incredible. He got 4th out of all the states, which is amazing. And so we went to like a party for him of like, we watched it live, and then he came, and one of my friends who was at the live taping of it, he comes up to me after, like when he found me, and he was like, I saw that lady. I was like, okay, oh, what lady? I'm on the edge of my seat. And he goes, the pickleball lady. And immediately I knew who he was talking about. It's this woman who's there a lot. She's very good. She's very sweet. And I also happen to play pickleball with Grant's dad because he's usually at the courts too. But I was like, so that's the first step. I saw someone from the pickleball courts in an entertainment setting. That's like the first step to it. But Grant did incredible. It was so fun because my friend Jenna was in town too. So it was just all of us watching him, cheering him on. And then right after he was done with the live taping of the show, he came and we got to celebrate him. And that same day, I went to the viewing party at like 4. And then I had to leave to go to a different event for
hobnobbing.
Hobnobbing. Yeah, let me think of. I saw Chris Olsen there. Just me trying to name drop. I don't know. But Matt took me to this like premiere for this show, but it was more of like a social premiere. Like everyone was just kind of hanging out. It was really interesting. And then we actually afterwards went back to Grant's party for the dance section of it, and we just had a really fun dance party. But it was a crazy busy day. But I truly felt like that day I felt like LA. I was like, I got multiple events in WeHo tonight. I used to think it was weird when people called it WeHo instead of West Hollywood, but here I am now.
WeHo is West Hollywood. Okay, learn something new every day.
Yeah.
We have some great questions, one of which is about LA and its enormity and friends and all that. You just let me know if you want to go there now, since it's kind of a segue moment, or we could save the great questions for later.
We totally can. Can I add one more thing super quick?
Of course, please do.
So there's North Hollywood, there's West Hollywood. I don't ever hear people call like East Hollywood or South Hollywood. But people literally do call West Hollywood WeHo and North Hollywood NoHo. And I thought that was a joke. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was so much of a joke that one of my friends, when I first met him, I asked him, I was like, oh, where do you live? This was also right when I moved to LA. And he was like, oh, I live in NoHo. And I was like, oh, I don't know where that is. And he goes, North Hollywood? And I felt like an idiot.
Yep.
On to the question.
So this is good timing because Zane says, hi, Mags and Dan. I love the podcast. It's always a great part of my week. I just graduated college in Vermont, and I'm moving to LA this summer to get my master's degree in filmmaking. I'm excited for the move, but I'm nervous about meeting people out there, especially with how busy I'll be in classes. I also feel intimidated by how big LA is and by how many people are there. I know a few people who have already moved out there, and it sounds like the sheer size of LA can make it harder to meet people and see them often. Do you have any advice for meeting new people and making friends in such a big city when you're already committed to a lot that's taking up your time? Thank you. He also says, after hearing Maggie talk about pickleball, I've started looking into it as a way to meet people, and I just need to learn to play. So
that's the first
step. Thank you, Zane.
That's the first
step.
That's
your first step.
Oh, that's so
Courts
fun.
are open. Yeah.
Number one, LA's not as big as you think it is. Like, it is, but so many people know so many people. Like, I met someone at a coffee shop yesterday, and we exchanged Instagram, and immediately he went to our mutuals, and he was like, oh, you know this person, this person, this person? I was like, yeah. We don't really do the same thing, but already we had mutuals in common. It's crazy how connected everyone is here. Classes also are a good way to meet people. I remember one of the big things I was told moving out here for acting was make friends with everyone who's doing the same thing as you, because it's going to fuel you creatively. you're going to make friends through it. You're going to have like camaraderie. And also you're going to like grow together. You're going to like rise together.
Yes.
You know, you start off in this acting class, 10 years from now, you're on a sitcom together. Like it's really interesting the way things work like that. And so I'd say totally take advantage of that.
Or in Zane's case, these could be the people you're making movies with down the road.
Exactly. So like make friends with those people in your classes, get to know other people in LA through like, I was going to say comedy shows. I'm going to an improv show tomorrow night and just like have the willingness to talk to people. I think pickleball is a great instance of that. One of my friends the other day, he said, he was like, I don't think we talk to enough people at pickleball. And I was like, I was having the same feeling because you really don't know who's around you. Like, it's crazy to make those friendships and then like find out what each other do. And you're like, oh,
Yes.
That's wild.
I get that feeling a lot of being in certain circles with people and you're like, I really wonder what their story is. And then if you explore a little bit, you find the connections or you find out curious things about them and realize just there's something about them that's totally amazing.
Yeah.
And can really, be very interesting to you or help you in life or whatever. It's just good to get to know people. Yep.
Yeah.
To me, the interesting part of his question, I'm sorry, were you done?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the word that I really honed in on was intimidated, about nervous about meeting new people. And I feel maybe a bit intimidated by LA. So nervousness and intimidation. And I just want to encourage you, Zane, like a new move is a new start. It's a chance to like reinvent yourself in some ways. And what you really need to do, and this is good advice for all of us in certain situations, is to double down on your own confidence. Even if you don't necessarily feel it 100%, walk into those situations and express yourself. Do the things you wouldn't normally do because those moments are going to hit you where you have a chance to meet people and do things and put yourself out there. And, we don't want to hang back and let those moments go by us. We want to engage them at least in some way. And so I know for myself that I've missed a lot of great opportunities to meet people and get to know people who were in my world and accessible to me because I felt a sense of intimidation. And maybe that part of me, I wasn't worthy to reach out to them or I didn't know exactly what to say. It doesn't really matter what you say. Just be real, be like down to earth.
Yeah.
Mom and I just went to a great play at the Alliance. It was actually kind of like before the musical kind of thing. They're staging a musical in Atlanta. This ultimately going to go to Broadway called Trading Places. It's based on the 1980s movie with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. And Kenny Leon, who is a Atlanta icon, is the director. And the writer is amazing, and the musical people are amazing. It's like they're right there, and we're in this small group, and they're showing us a couple of the numbers ahead of time. And Mom got a ticket to go see this, and so there was a moment where I had a chance to like interact with this writer guy who was, totally recognizable because do you remember the show Reno 911? He actually played one of the main characters on that show, and his writing credits are enormous, but also his acting credits and stuff. But I said something that kind of like spoke to something that I got from him and just picked up on a thing. And pretty soon we were in a really kind of like in-depth conversation. And it was just a few moments, like a few minutes, but it was a really cool thing. So don't be intimidated. Go for it.
Kenny Leon, they named Ponce de Leon after him, right?
Maybe.
No.
Now, Kenny Leon was the artistic director of the Alliance Theater for many, many years. And then he's since gone on to produce everything and win Tony Awards for directing. And he's a giant now in theater.
Amazing.
So, it's going to be a good show. I really do. We saw a couple of the numbers and it's going to be really, really good, really fun. The other part of intimidation, which is interesting, is I didn't realize or even think about this for a while, but it came to kind of a shock to me when I realized that some people were intimidated by me. Like that I was, because of whatever, how I carried myself or my weirdness or riding unicycles or TikTok, I don't know, whatever. The people feel odd about approaching me and asking questions, which to me seems weird. It seems mind-boggling because I'm just a normal dude in my own mind. And I think everybody kind of feels that way.
You're very charismatic. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think That's the funny. Any boy I've talked to ever isn't like intimidated by you for the most part. Except it's usually an intimidation and like a, oh my gosh, I want to meet him. That's gonna be so fun. But like they just want you to like him so bad because they like you. It's a weird thing to know a lot of details about someone's life without knowing them. It's a weird thing. And so like somebody can really get to know us without ever meeting us because we have a podcast, because a lot of our life is online and stuff like that. And so when you really get to know someone, you're like, I like this person. You want them to like you back. So I think that's part of the intimidation where it's like a little bit of fear, like I know them, but they don't know me. Like what if this doesn't go well? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you don't have to be intimidated by me in any way, you can walk up, say hello, have a good chat. And I can't wait to meet more of your friends next time I'm in LA, which is hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon.
Yes. So I wasn't meeting friends in North Carolina. I was spending a lot of time alone with my dogs. And that's something I was thinking about a lot is, are you really alone when you're with your dogs? Because I didn't feel so alone. What I felt was like judged.
Oh,
and
judged.
And guilty and like I was ignoring them. And it's like, it's
well, were
weird
you?
Because what's that?
Well, were you?
I don't think so. It's just that I had so much to do. And, you know, I've been alone with the dogs now for several days. Mom's been in Texas visiting her family. And I had this big, trip to the mountains. We're selling a mountain house up there. And so moving things and going to the dump. Oh my gosh, Adventures in Dumping.
Title of this week's podcast, Adventures in Dumping.
Twice I got shut down at the dump.
I heard about one of them.
First time was last week when I showed up with my dad's pickup truck loaded with stuff. And I get there, they close at 4:30. It's 4:16 and a guy's at the gate. It's closing the gate. It's like, nobody gets in the gate after 4:15. I'm like, it says 4:30. So I had to drive all of the junk back to Atlanta and find places to dump it around here.
Man.
Recycling and all the environmental friendly ways to handle that type of a process, nonetheless. And then the same thing happened last weekend when I was there again. And I went on Saturday at 3:00 feeling like, okay, I'm going to be really early. Well, they close at 2 on Saturday. But I waited around till Monday. I finally got my dumping done. So meanwhile, all this is going on with the dogs and they don't help. They don't.
Yeah.
There's so much to do. I've got stuff to do and they just watch me all the time. They don't lift anything. They don't move anything. They don't drive any cars.
They're needy.
They just look at you with those guilty eyes or those guilt-inducing eyes like, hey, what about me? What about me?
I think they should hang out more. Like, our dogs very much only want to hang out with us. They don't really hang out with each other.
Well, I did take them to the park a couple times. But yeah, they don't give each other a lot of attention.
Yeah, like Spencer's
play.
such a snuggle dog. Why doesn't he snuggle with Simon?
Sometimes he does. He does like to sleep in Simon's bed, which is the bigger bed.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because he doesn't want Simon to have a bed. He's kind of a little brat that way.
Do you think he's a bully?
A little bit. Would you say, Stephanie?
Yes, absolutely.
Stephanie spent a lot of time with our dogs.
We gotta
over
fix
the years
that.
when we've been traveling.
We can't have a bully in the Thurman household. That's a no-go.
And he's the little one. He's a tiny Chihuahua dog. Simon's much bigger, so it just happens. Sometimes little dogs have that way about them.
Yeah.
So,
Man.
another question?
Let's go one more.
Okay. This is from, let's see. We're going to go with Michael. Hey, been listening since day one and finally decided to ask a question. How do you cope with the feeling that your faith isn't being represented in your hobbies or work? I'm a videographer and writer, and sometimes I worry that the content I produce isn't representative of my faith and values. I'm not producing anything bad, but sometimes I feel bad if everything I create isn't super meaningful. Do you ever feel this way? Michael. Content creating,
Yeah.
faith-driven, principle-driven dude, but his work isn't necessarily directly tied to his values.
Yeah, I think I think honestly it varies on people, because I have like some of the most religious dudes I've ever met in my life currently, and like just so in love with God, so in love with like the world, and just like wanting to like be the best they can be. And their content is never about their faith. It's funny, you know? And I think a lot of the times we forget that like how important that is, just to like make people laugh or to make people smile. And although it's not overtly or at all like Christian or like here's the gospel, it's still who they are. And it's still like in line with their character, which like to me that's my whole thing. Like my content is practically never really faith. But it's who I am, and like I try and be the best I can be. And so if the content is like not contradicting that then
Right.
I'm good. And then I get into a little bit of a figuring it out with acting, because yeah, you're probably not going to relate to your character, but I do think certain stories should be told even if it's not like you. So I'm still working on that bit. Get it back to me in a few weeks.
A few weeks, a few roles, more like it, a
roles.
few years. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting journey for you. But I think Maggie's really onto it. It's like, it's not about the overt expression of what your work is. Sometimes it is. And sometimes you intentionally set out to create something super meaningful. But there is a meaning, regardless of whether it's creating artwork or film or writing or just the way you move through life. I believe there is an essence of you that kind of undergirds everything that you do. It's like you're an artist in the way you live, in the words that you use, the way you talk to others, the way you smile or handle difficulty or, whatever. It's like, so when you, the way you, one of my favorite authors and speakers is Wayne Dyer. And one of the ways he put it is, he said, well, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out of the orange?
Orange juice.
Oh, yeah, orange juice. Well, why?
Because you squeeze the orange.
Yeah, and because that's what's
inside of it.
Inside the orange.
I get it. Sorry, that
right?
took me a second.
And so the analogy is, what happens when somebody squeezes you?
Yeah.
What comes out? Does anger come out? Does resentment come out? Like a little bit
of pee? Sorry. I thought it was funny.
Sometimes. Or some kindness comes out, or curiosity, or like maybe you're taken aback.
Yeah.
There were a couple guys at the dog park yesterday that were, and I know I'm getting off the question, but like they were having this confrontation when I got there, so much so that I couldn't really fully engage with the dog park with my dogs because I didn't want to like get into it. Mm-hmm. But they both had dogs, big muscular dogs that have strength and temperament and whatever. It's like, I'm sure they were well trained and they were handling them responsibly, but these guys had beef with each other and were getting into it. It was just this circular loop of conversation about your dog and my dog and da-da-da-da-da. And like they were going to, like the dogs would be aggressive with each other. I don't know. And I was just like, man, these guys just can't get past this. And the energy, like everybody was picking up on it. The dogs were picking up on it. So I guess back to the question, it's like, so there's an energy about your work and an essence of your choices that's going to be there regardless of whether you try or not. And sometimes you have to learn the skills and make the films, and you're really not trying to create something meaningful. You're just trying to hone your chops, to hone your talents. And so don't put too much pressure on yourself and figure it out as you go.
Yeah. When in doubt, talk to God about it. Like if it's a faith thing and you're like, truly, I don't know how to feel about this, ask God. Bring it back to, because you can ask other people all day long, but like your faith is your faith. And like that's the most important element in it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, God is the most important element. I have people come up to me after my speeches in business settings when I'm certainly not overtly faith-driven or religious, and they pick up on it and they say, "Hey, are you, are you Christian, or have you been through some journeys in your life with God?" And or sometimes they even say, are you sober? Like they recognize the fact that some of what I talk about may be informed from that period of time in my life when I had to, work through an addictive behavior or something like that. So it comes out even if you don't think it comes out.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of sobriety, can I show you something?
Yes. Drum roll, please. Maggie is leaving the frame of the camera. She's walking off screen.
Okay.
Looking at her couch.
Okay, so
She's got a bag.
You know how I went and I saw John Mulaney live?
Yes.
I decided
Another name drop. John Mulaney live.
Yeah, I
in
was
her
actually
living room.
I was in like the third to last row of the Hollywood Bowl, so like it was practically a
not
private,
her living room. The opposite of her living room.
The opposite of my living room. And so I decided he's probably my favorite comedian.
Yep.
And so I decided I'm going to go ahead and buy a t-shirt of his. I'm going to buy his merch. And, he went through a very public, he was sober, very public relapse, very public going to rehab. Yeah? Were you aware of that?
Intervention,
Which he talks about a lot. It's so funny. They actually, yeah. Anyways.
Interventions are hilarious, generally speaking.
But here is the shirt I got. Hopefully it doesn't put it backwards for you. Okay. Is it backwards?
It says, I saw him right after he got out of rehab. Oh.
Isn't that so funny? And then the back is
and
his
does it have
dates.
John Mulaney on the back? Yeah,
Yep.
and the tour dates. Already profiting off of his rehab experience. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that whole special was so funny. We weren't allowed to have our phones. Did I tell you about this last week? I didn't because it was...
Well, no, this was part of what we talked about between last
This
podcast.
is what we were talking about in the car, and we both went, wait, no, we can't talk about it. Talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. And speaking of which, this brings up another question, which is how this podcast has screwed up our communication, like our regular father-daughter communication.
Truly. But yeah, they did this thing where we walked into the Hollywood Bowl, and they said, give me your phone. And we said, excuse me? And they put our phones in these pouches that we couldn't get it, and only they could unlock it. Which was like, we kept making so many jokes about it that like weren't even funny. Like we'd go up to a concession stand and they'd go, so no Apple Pay, eh? And like stuff like that. But it was nice to be in the moment. Didn't know what time it was, so that was disorienting. But also we got dropped off. So at the end of it, we couldn't get our phones unlocked until we were like all the way down the Hollywood Bowl. And like I said, we were quite far back. And so my friend uses his Siri to call our friend, and he's just holding his phone like this.
No kidding.
Talking through it to our friend, like, hey, can you come pick us up now? Yeah, it's over. And then he'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna text you. And he'd be like, no, you can't text me, and also you can't call me. I'm the only one who can call you right now. This is the only way this is gonna work.
I didn't think that worked. I thought there was some kind of lining that prevented the signals from getting in.
Nope. Yeah, I was like,
at least that's the story we heard. We encountered this in Atlanta at the Vortex Comedy Club
for Kevin Hart, right?
Yeah, for Kevin Hart, and also. And I think it was for Kevin Hart's show that this happened. And what we were told was you're not going to be able to access your phone, and it can't record anything in this bag. And then afterward they unlock it, which is actually kind of cool. It liberates you from feeling like you need to check your phone because you can't. But also we heard that Tyler Perry was the one who came up with that idea. So Tyler Perry in Atlanta kind of invented that system.
That's crazy because
we were told.
We heard Dave Chappelle created it.
What's that?
We were told Dave Chappelle. My friend said Dave Chappelle created it.
It could be. It's very possible. It might have been Dave Chappelle,
it was.
Now that you mention it, I thought it was.
We totally could have recorded, but yeah, I have a feeling that the John Mulaney bit's probably going to be another Netflix special. Which is really cool. I'll be looking forward to see it. It was so funny too because I was with my friend who him and I are really big John Mulaney fans, and so we know his material very well. We know his Saturday Night Live monologue very well. And so every time the monologue was like kind of scattered throughout the whole set. Anytime you started to go into it, we would just look at each other and go, we're like, we know, John. But it was a really good experience.
Well, it's hard to develop that much material for a special, and so I admire comedians who can do that. It's incredible work.
I'm working
to get
on
the timing worked out. It's so unbelievable. Well, and back to the communication thing. So what happens, just so you know, is that Maggie and I talk throughout the week quite often. She'll call usually in the evenings or throughout the day, usually when she's driving somewhere. She's on her way someplace and just wants to kill time in the car, which is great. It's like always good to hear from her. And we will have a conversation and we'll get into an interesting idea and we'll be like, oh, wait, stop. Don't talk about this now. Save it for the podcast.
Save it for the podcast.
And like 9 times out of 10, we don't remember what we were talking about. And so we don't talk about it then and we can't remember it later. And anyway, we just have to trust it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe we should just start writing it down.
Start writing it down. Hey, what do you think about having some guests coming up soon?
I think that would be fun. Do you have anyone in mind?
I might. I don't want to mention any names just now.
Okay.
But maybe we can talk about that.
So this is a strange
offline.
scenario when we go save it for not the podcast.
Yeah, save it for not the, like, let's not talk about this here.
Let's not talk about it yet.
Which we don't normally ever say. We normally just say whatever's on our mind when the cameras are rolling and
Yeah.
the mics are on.
Or we go, you can't say that on the podcast, and we have to cut it out in post.
Yeah, mom is the final arbiter of what is ultimately said on the podcast.
Yeah. Man.
And Eddie as well. But no, if you have a suggestion of people you'd like us to interview for the podcast, you can certainly go to wholesomechaos.com. And along with your questions, you can present suggestions for people you would like to hear from and maybe some questions or some different perspectives you'd like to know from them.
Absolutely.
And so if we can, we'll figure it out. We've certainly got a lot of creative, interesting people in our life, and we're not intimidated. We'll ask them and we'll talk to them.
Yep. We'll work through intimidation fears for that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. We appreciate it more than you know. Again, like my dad said, wholesomechaos.com. You can leave us questions. You can leave us comments. You can do that. You can just scroll through. It's a cute little website. Anything you want to add, Dad?
No, we'll be thinking about you all this week and coming up with new ideas to share with you. And just know that you are often on our minds and always in our hearts. We're very grateful that you've made this podcast a part of your life and look forward to meeting you in person. If you see us out and about, honestly, just walk up, say hello. Don't be intimidated. Go for it. We'd love to connect with you. So I guess that's it for this week then, Maggie. Until then, do you have any big adventures or things like that you're moving into next? Big parties?
Groundling show
Hobnobbing?
tonight. Hobnobbing. I think I'm going to crochet another hat. So, big plans this week. Audition today. Yeah. So, well,
Do you need me to read with you again?
maybe. It's another father-daughter thing.
Oh, lovely. I'd
We'll
be happy
see.
to help you out.
Amazing.
Did we get that one, by the way? Because we were both auditioning, right?
Yeah. I didn't hear anything. But
Okay.
maybe they're just waiting.
Well, did you give them my information too? Just in case they liked my part?
Well, I think they would have recognized you. They would have said, I know this
Oh,
voice. This is author,
They might have just been intimidated.
unicyclist, Dan Thurman. All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to go love on the dogs, and I'm going to pet them, and I'm going to take them to the park, and I'm going to take them on a walk and give them my full attention for at least
Amazing.
the next 5 minutes.
All righty. Well, love you.
All right. I love you too, Maggie. We love you, everyone. Take care. Oh,
Bye.
here comes the fly.
I
All right.
saw
See you next
that.
week. Bye.
Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos. Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos.
You know, when you said, hey, speaking of sobriety, can I show you something? You know, the first thing that came to my mind?
Chips. Did you think I was going to show you chips? I knew it.
Like, if Maggie's going to show me a white chip, I'll be like, Maggie, you're not an alcoholic.
Maggie.
I'm pretty sure you're not.